Coming up this weekend at strawweight, Cory McKenna's fought to two really weird decisions in the UFC. She's still only 23 years old, having turned that age just a few weeks ago. She's going to be taking on Miranda Granger, somebody who hasn't fought in forever. And for Granger, a great opportunity to get back into the good graces with a win. And if you look at it for Miranda Granger, comes into the UFC. She's a former CFFC strawweight champ, an organization that has produced such women's champions as Quinlan. So for Granger, she was getting it done. She was undefeated. She beats Hannah Goldie. She outstruck the striker. She beat her in different positions. And then she picked up a couple of different losses. Now, not all losses are created equal, but she goes out there, loses a first-round submission to Amanda Lemos, which is going to happen. Lemos, one of the best women in this division. But then for Granger, goes out and fights Ashley Yoder. And I'd say not all decision wins are created equal when I talk about Cory McKenna. But Matt, Ashley Yoder 10-8'd Miranda Granger in the third round of that fight. And it wasn't a good lasting impression for somebody who's gone on, since had a pregnancy, had a kid, now she's getting back into MMA. That fight against Ashley Yoder about a year and 8 months ago. And for Granger, I know it's one of those ones you got to kind of throw it out and forget about some of those losses, but they still do kind of give you a bad taste.
Why do you have to throw them out? Those are the last two times we saw her.
You got to at least think of the good times.
I'm going to disagree with that point. I don't know how you can forget about the bad times. Like you said, we saw her get 10-8'd by a fighter whose best game plan is fight to a split decision. That's the really big problem with Miranda Granger. What is her one X factor that stands out above an average fighter in this division?
Her jiu-jitsu.
But even her jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't say can get it done against even the top 10 grapplers in this division. Problem with Miranda Granger is she really needs a specific area for her fights to have a lot of success in. She needs a lot of clinch trips. She needs a lot of top control. She needs a lot of ground and pound. Do any of those three things tend to normally work on a fighter like Cory McKenna? I would say no. And that's the weird thing about Miranda Granger. We got asked the question, I don't know if it was on Question Mark Kicks or it was during the Fight Companion, so I apologize, but someone had asked us what our early thoughts are on Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, because I feel like that's the next big fight, you know what I mean? Like, that's sort of the next big fight on the horizon that even the casual fans can get very excited for. I think Miranda Granger at this division is going to have the same problem that Charles Oliveira is going to have in that matchup. She's just not the most physically strong fighter in this division, and I do think that makes her really struggle against these takedown heavy fighters like Cory McKenna is probably going to bring into this fight. And when we were just giving our sort of, initial thoughts on this card going up and down, I said that on this card, it does feel like there's a few of these get back on the horse fights, and I really do feel that way with Cory McKenna in this matchup. It does feel like the UFC's been trying to build her star ever since the Contender Series win. She is very young, which is always something they like to do. They always like to have like 5 people between the age of 20 and 23 on the roster, just in case they turn into something the UFC can be like, hey, we've had them the whole time. But at least Cory McKenna does have some attributes that I feel put her above just the average fighter in this division. She has pretty good cardio. She can take a heck of a shot in the feet, which isn't a great thing to be known for when you've been getting hit clean at the age of 23, but still has shown a very good chin up until this point. And I do like her relentlessness with her own takedowns. Again, she's not someone who has this extended background like a Chael Sonnen or somebody, but her MMA wrestling is quite high level against other people who can grapple in the UFC.
It's good, and I started this one off saying not all wins are created equal because she beats Vanessa Demopoulos on Contender Series, gets the contract. It's one of those, you're young, we need you, like you said, so we're going to sign you to this division. She takes on Kay Hansen. I mean, all 3 judges scored the contest 29-28. They gave her round 1, they gave her round 2. MMA decisions, 3 gave it 30-27 Hansen, 11 gave it 29-28 Hansen, 2 gave it 29-28 McKenna. McKenna gets the win by unanimous decision. Then she goes out. It was a London card back in March. The Tom Aspinall-Volkov one. And she takes on Elise Reed. Elise Reed of striking fame. She's a Taekwondo black belt. Cory McKenna of grappler at Team Alpha Male. Now, it's weird how 2 of Wales' best prospects go to Team Alpha Male in McKenna and Mason Jones. But for McKenna, she fights Elise Reed. She gets a few takedowns. She gets punished on the feet. In that, Derek Cleary gave 30-27 McKenna. Most people had it all for Elise Reed. The other 2 judges did as well. I thought Elise Reed did a lot to win that fight, but McKenna gets the takedowns, but she did get punished on the feet in this matchup against a fighter in Miranda Granger, who's on the comeback. She's been off since November 14th of 2020, back when the top song in the Billboard charts was
Blinding Lights,
boy.
I'm assuming?
I thought it was Blinding Lights, Matt.
Yeah.
It was Mood by 24K Golden, which has almost 375 million views.
Fucking around acting brand new.
I
tried to tell you what to do. You don't know that song?
I didn't know that song until I heard it, and I went, oh, I know that from, like, the internet. But I didn't really know that song. They just look like two guys.
I think it's on 2K.
They look like two guys that would have one song, and then you never hear about them again. Like the Milli Vanilli of 2020. But looking at this one, Matt, Miranda Granger has 4 inches of height and 9.5 inches of reach. Cory McKenna is going to look to try and pounce on that. Poppins pouncing with the P's in the microphone. Matt, we have a look at the odds in this one. McKenna open to -210, -215. Granger open a +180, +175. We have a look at the Topology vote. Surprise to us, it is to you. I'm going to say over under 82.5% McKenna.
I was going to say above 80, so yeah, around there.
Oh boy, look at that. 1,001 total votes, 83% McKenna, 17% Granger, 90% have McKenna to win by decision, 82% have Granger to win by decision of the 17% that have Granger. So Matt, the odds are against Miranda Granger. The fans are against Miranda Granger. You have Cory McKenna to win this fight.
Of course I do. She's fighting someone who hasn't looked very good in her last 2 fights. Who's coming off a 2-year layoff. I find it very difficult to pick Miranda Granger in this matchup. Again, the wrestling of Cory McKenna is something that has yet to be completely deterred in the UFC. Elise Reed had a massive size advantage over her and a really nice striking background, so she was able to brutalize Cory McKenna in those striking exchanges.
How did she have a massive size advantage?
She had fought at bantamweight before. She had fought at flyweight before.
She had fought at flyweight on short notice. She was a strawweight.
Okay, my point is, she is a big fighter for this division, and the fact that Cory McKenna got outstruck by her does not mean that Miranda Granger's going to be able to go out there and do the same thing. I think Granger's going to try to play a lot of her jiu-jitsu off her back, which is going to help the game plan of Cory McKenna, because McKenna doesn't have to be crazy active from her guard or her half guard. I just think the top position is going to be enough to get enough minutes, enough moments, enough just time in the judges' minds so that she'll be able to win rounds that way, because neither fighter has fight-ending power with her punches. Neither fighter is that high level of a submission specialist, so I really do think this fight's more than likely going to go to decision, and if that is the case, I do favor the person with the wrestling advantage.
The reason why I like the underdog in this matchup, again, height and reach are never created equal. You look at somebody with this off the page, there's going to be somebody that comments under this and says, well, geez, 9.5 inches of reach, well, I have to pick that fighter. It's not that she's this great, long, prodding striker that can keep you at bay. The trouble I have with it, and you mentioned it and I did too, is the fact that Cory McKenna does absorb a lot of shots. Her striking defense isn't the best. Her wrestling is her X factor, but once it's down to the mat, it's kind of top position over everything. And I don't necessarily love that. Now, pounding back the minutes is a way to win it in the eyes of the judges, and we even saw that for Derek Cleary in the fight that she had against Elise Reed. But for me, I like Miranda Granger having more skills to be able to win the fight. So I'll be eager to see which one of these two is able to get the win. Obviously, the fans, the odds with Cory McKenna. You have Cory McKenna. I can obviously see that giant wrestling advantage, and Miranda Granger is somebody that likes to play jiu-jitsu off her back. We'll see how this fight plays out. I'm going based on the previous fights up until the last 2, and you're going off of Cory McKenna and the body of work that we've seen.
You're going off fights from 3.5 years ago?
Matt, I don't care. I'm picking Miranda Granger to win this
No,
fight.
that's fine. I'm just asking what the reasoning is. That's all.
She has better jiu-jitsu. She's a better striker.
Okay.
She's more well-rounded. You have the wrestling advantage of Cory McKenna. We disagree on the pick. It's allowed. But let us know down below in the comments section who you have. We have a big-time fight card set up with the 2 finales at The Ultimate Fighter, at heavyweight, at flyweight, and in the main event, Thiago Santos, Jamal Hill. I can't wait for it. Be sure to hit up the comments section. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.